That's the practical stuff, and with that, I will say welcome to the first speaker of the conference, who's not saying welcome, that is, Torben Klitgaard from the association BIPS, which he will tell you about what is, and he will tell a little bit about how lean informatics and processes are collaborating with each other. So welcome, Torben.
Thank you, Jakob. And thank you for having me on board the opening presentation this morning on what I think is one of the most important topics in the future of the building industry, namely IPD, Integrated Project Delivery. Thanks for the EGLC committee to take on board this topic. I think if you look at the three words, Integrated Project Delivery, which is going to be the theme this afternoon, we know what projects are. We've known that for centuries within the construction industry. Projects is the building projects ending up in physical results. We know what delivery is. Some clients might say that delivery is often too late and too expensive. But integration, I seriously doubt that we truly know what that is. So if you put the three words together, Integrated Project Delivery, I think you have sort of the essence of what might solve the greatest challenges within the construction industry that we have seen, namely the fact that we go together as stakeholders, we integrate the project, making sure that the delivery will be there on time and on budget. That would be a great challenge to solve. That will solve many of the solutions, in my view, that we have seen for many, many years. I will touch upon an aspect which I call building before building, which is highly interrelated to the notion of integrated project delivery. The reason why I will do that is because normally I'm the CEO of what we call BIPS in Denmark. BIPS is a cross-professional organization, non-profit organization in Denmark. For those of you who know the NBS in the UK, with the NBS of Denmark. For those of you who know the NIPS, National Institute of Building Standards in the US, we are the NIPS of Denmark. And don't ask me why these organizations are called BIPS and NIPS and whatever. I do not have the answer to that. For some reasons, that's what we are called. But our focus is, as it says on the board, classification systems, property databases, documentation standards, and especially, or in particularly, BIM process guidelines. So we're very much focused in talking about how to optimize processes. That is the reason why I think the lean construction movement is a great place to be. We are very much focused in setting up digital or infrastructure for digital collaboration, and that is what I'm going to touch upon in this keynote. But before we start, let's have a look at what is IPD essentially. I know you're going to talk about that quite a lot this afternoon. But if we go to Wikipedia, it says something like this. It's about a continuous involvement of the stakeholders within the industry. It's about sharing risks and awards. It's about joint project control. It's about multi-party agreements. And it's about limited liability among owner and key designers and builders. And some of that we know in Denmark. Some of that we have seen for years within the construction industry in Denmark. But some of that we do not know. And that, I think, is the great challenge for the years to come. If we truly want to integrate projects, integrate the notion of how to build an efficient result among the stakeholders that comes from a variety of professionals in the building industry, we have to look upon the theory behind the IPD and the practice. And therefore, I'm looking forward to some of the case studies that are presented later today on that topic. But basically, I think we can agree that it's something to do with all parties, all stakeholders coming together with the client in order to make sure that the end result, no matter whether it's a hospital, a school, apartments, offices, or whatever, that is done in truly collaboration with the client's needs and in an integrated process across stakeholders. I think we can all agree on that. But I ask, why are we essentially doing this? Why are we talking about productivity? Why are we talking about lean? Why are we talking about processes that link together? As someone said to me the other day, why on earth are you talking about digital collaboration and all that runs in your head? The construction industry has built for centuries and is still building. So what are you going to add? And in my opinion, and with the liberty of being very, very, very brief this morning, I think we can boil this discussion down to 2 points, namely this. It's about reducing risks and improving quality. Basically, that is the central fundamental needs of any client and any stakeholder within a building project. It is reducing risks so you know what you're going to get delivered at the end, and it's about improving that quality with the help of employers, but especially with the help of the employees, all the stakeholders, all the people involved in that construction of that bridge, the Great Belt Bridge in Denmark. So basically, I think that's what it's all about. Obviously, a very simple way of putting it, but basically, when it boils down to 2 elements, it's about that. And one thing I think is particularly interesting is the notion of building before building, because that is a game changer. That is a new mindset within the building industry. You might argue that we've always thought about how to build and how to construct before we actually did it. But now, due to collaborative efforts, especially due to the IT systems that are running within the construction industry, it is actually possible to build twice, to build in the virtual world and build in the physical world. And I think that is going to be the fundamental game changer in solving many of those problems that we have seen for centuries within the construction industry. Not being able to reduce risks, not being able to design at a quality level sufficient and at a level that suits the client. So the notion of building before building is very much correlated to this, namely that you have a virtual representation of the building in which you have as many information, as many data as possible at a very, very early stage before you get out there in the physical world, before you start constructing, before you start building. And that again could be boiled down to this, I think. It's about making sure that all relevant information is available prior to decisions related to the project. Not necessarily to do with IT altogether, but also to do with the ability of the IT systems to make sure that the information is ready before you take as a baseline for you to take the best suitable decisions before, so to speak, you go into the ground, before you go on. And that is very much what this is all about. You've seen this slide many, many times over the years. I think the original concept was Patrick McLeany, head of Building Smart. But that is actually what we're talking about here. That is also, in my view, what lean construction is all about. That is what building before building especially is all about. It is about working along the curve number 4, the preferred design process, in which you have much more relevant information available for you to take strategic decisions at a much earlier stage than you've ever been used to. And in that respect, I think the BIM information modeling mindset is a key driver. It is definitely to do with the process of producing and exchanging structured information, as it says, across the stakeholders as a baseline for delivering integrated high-quality projects. So what we see in the developments within the BIM movement, within the Building Smart movement, and within the movement that structures information and structures data at the right time, at the right place, for the right stakeholder, is key for delivering results and is fundamental as any prerequisite for IPD. And that is why I underline that I think the BIM information modeling and all we see in that movement is a prerequisite for the integrated project delivery. And in my view, those two go together hand in hand. The problem is that there is not enough structure. So when we talk about information within the construction industry, we have to change our mindsets into talking about that information being structured at a much higher level than we've ever seen before. So how to structure information throughout the value chain is a key prerequisite, is a key element in dealing with the project in a high efficient manner, in a high productive manner and in an optimized manner. And that is why in Denmark 3 years ago we got together, practically all stakeholders within the industry got together and said we need to solve the problem of structuring information within the building information modeling as a prerequisite for building and construction in a much more leaner way, in a much more productive way. We have systems in other parts of the world, of course. Denmark is only this big compared to US and Australia and Britain and so on. But we have not seen an infrastructure that sort of integrates into the building information modeling, that makes sure that the information passed on from the architect to the engineer, to the constructor, to the facility manager, to the producers, is passed on in an efficient way and in a structured way. And that is the reason why we sat down and developed what we call the CCS system. CCS stands for Clinical Classification System. And it's not just a classification system, as you know, from Omniclass and Uniclass, Uniformat, BSAB in Sweden or whatever. It is actually much more than that. It is a system that integrates the needs for stakeholders across the value chain to structure and to transfer and export data from one stakeholder to the other. And instead of me talking about that, and in light of the time limit, I want to show you a short video. It's only 2.5 minutes, and that essentially shows what CCS is. And I would like to start that now, if possible. Let's see if it works. It works, but without the sound.
It doesn't work on
it. There.
It did just before.
It did just before. As you always say when you do like this, when we practiced it before you came, it worked. But let's see if it doesn't work. I think it does.
Players are to work together, they need to start from common ground. In the building sector, we are acutely aware of this necessity. It arises when we use different words to describe the same things, when our software systems can't communicate, and when we haven't clearly agreed who will do what and when. The Clinical Classification System, or CCS, gives us the common ground we need to communicate throughout the building process, from initial idea to operation and maintenance. This is a client, and this is his team of consultants. They're going to build a new school. Before starting, they use CCS levels of information to determine who will supply which data when. The architect creates a model of the school, using CCS to assign a classification and a unique ID to each room and element. A software plugin generates both the classification and ID. Here, he is inserting a window. The ID shows that it's a window on the ground floor of the facade. As the planning and design progresses, the architect enters additional properties for the window, once again structuring the data using CCS. This data might include color, material, U-value, acoustic rating, and fire rating. When the engineer is ready to do her energy calculations, she uses the data already added by the architect, even if she doesn't use the same software. This is possible because they are using the same concepts and data. The same goes for the consultant doing the lighting calculations, the consultant doing the sound calculations, and so on. A couple of months further on, the consultants are still using the same data. They complete the tender documents and transfer information to the bill of quantities. When the contractor receives the material, his software can recognize the window data, and it's easy for him to search manufacturers' databases for a window that meets the specified requirements. He calculates prices and transfers them to the bill of quantities. Later, when it's time to install the window, he can use the ID and the properties added by the consultants. The data tells him where to place the window, and the correct installation instructions are easy to find. And it doesn't stop here. When the contractor and the team of consultants hand over the school, they also hand over the data the client needs for the daily operation of the building. So when the window is due for maintenance or a pane breaks, he can rely on the data entered back when the foundations were only a shallow ditch. That's what we mean when we say that CCS can be used throughout the building process from initial idea to operation and maintenance.
Then I need the support part too.
This system is not just on the video, it's out there. This video is actually a couple of years old now, and CCS is out there in the Danish building industry now as part of the government's BIM mandate and the requirements there. More and more clients are requiring CCS classification from their consultants. But obviously CCS is not the only system out there. We have other systems within both the Danish and international building industry out there, so it's not just a question of CCS or nothing, obviously, but we do believe that the CCS system is very much some of the answers needed in order to solve a basic fundamental prerequisite for leaning the construction business and for working much more integrated, namely putting much more structure and intelligent structure into the information that goes into the models, the calculations, the FM systems, the producers' databases, etc., etc. And as it says here, we've developed the CCS system in highly accordance to ISO standards and used as many elements from the Building Smart Society, for example, the IFC properties, as possible. If you feel like it, and if you would like to have a go, it's free to download. You can go to our website and have a go, see what the CCS system is all about. We have some cases there. The CCS system is in English, soon in French, and in but the videos, unfortunately, so far only in Danish. But my point here, coming to a close, is that if we want to develop a new industry, if we want to learn from years and years of malpractice within doing the things wrong within the construction industry, we have to work along the lines of a collaborative mindset. We have to work along the lines of integrating the project in its delivery, and that is exactly what this conference is all about. But prior to that, we have to work in a much more intelligent and structured way with our information in order to lean our processes, in order to look to work much more collaborative than we've seen before. So these things go together. So from my stand, a big invitation to the lean construction people in Denmark to work much more closely together in the future in order for us to structure the data, structure the information, optimize the processes in order for us to get the end result, which is a project delivery, reducing costs at a much higher quality level in a much more integrated way. So having said that, I think there's only one more slide to go, and that is for all of you spending a day and here in this beautiful room and tomorrow, and that is have a great conference. Thank you for listening.